Kia ora and welcome to the Beer Jerk Beer of the Week drink along. I'm Luke and this week we are drinking Half Mast by Emporium. Emporium is, well, it's Paul Finney really. It's a family business with him and his wife Laura, who does a lot of the work on the artwork and admin and things, but it's Finney who's the chap behind the beers down there, and he started off with a homebrew shop. And it just sort of morphed and grew into the wonderful place that is Emporium these days, which is in Kaikoura. And it's quite unique in that, as well as being a brewery, there's also escape rooms and there's also mini golf there. So definitely a bit of a destination to visit when you're down in the South Island doing a bit of whale watching and checking out the scenery down there. And this is a Burton Ale. Cheers. Which is a style you don't see a lot of, and it's bloody delicious. So yeah, Finney's a great person to chat to. He's really enthusiastic about all kinds of different beer styles, and in fact he's got a bit of a neglected YouTube channel. I just had a look and I don't think he's put anything on there for about 6 years, and he put some really interesting videos out about things like cool ships and making lambic style beers and working with fresh hops and all kinds of interesting things that will be of interest to homebrewers. And they all get a respectable amount of views. But the one that caught my eye was the video where he makes a banana wine, which has thousands of times more views than any of the videos on there. So there's a few different crazy things to check out on there. I'll share a couple of links in the NZ Beer Jerks members group on Facebook, so you can check out some of the more unusual brews that Finney's done in the past. But he's from England originally and pretty into English style beers and European style beers in general. So they also do really good saisons, good weak beers, as well as obviously all the hoppy sort of stuff that we're all into these days. But yeah, Burton ales, you don't see a lot around. I suppose it's not that dissimilar to an extra special bitter. But as you can see in the beautiful, sort of like almost mahogany brown colour, it's just a little bit darker. So there's a little more sort of dark chocolate malts in there, which lead to a nice sort of chocolatey, malty, ruby character to the malt. And it's nice having a beer like this cause it's somewhat restrained. You're not getting slapped around the face with hops, but the hops are a really key part of this beer. And the hops it's a single hop in here. It's one of the most wonderful hops in the world. It's East Kent Goldings, which is a hop which is a parent to a lot of modern hops and a lot of the hops that hazy IPA drinkers get excited about. So East Kent Goldings, as there's a clue in the name, it was originated by the Goldings family of hop growers, of which Mr. Fuggles was a descendant. And Fuggles cultivated this, well, Fuggles hops that you've heard of, but also cultivated East Kent Goldings in East Kent. And Goldings are grown in different places all around the world, but they have different names. And East Kent Goldings can only be grown in East Kent. So it's actually, it's not a matter of it being a regionally protected name like Roquefort cheese or like Champagne. It's actually the unique growing conditions or terroir, as the French would say, of East Kent. There's a very rich loam to the soil. There's just a lot of minerals in there that give the hops everything they need, all the nutrients. There's a lot of rainwater falls in East Kent, and there's also a lot of sunshine. But also it's facing the ocean, and there's a real good prevailing wind that gusts through. So you don't get as many problems with funguses and other problems that too much moisture might cause to the leaves and the hop cones as they're growing due to all that rain falling. So yeah, whenever you have a beer with East Kent Goldings, they are from quite a localised small region of southern England. And there's just a really beautiful just like sort of blackberries and hedgerows and a bit of sort of Christmas spice in there. It's definitely not the the tropical punch bowl fruity peach stone fruit aromas that you get. It's a whole other type of hop, these wonderful hops, East Kent Goldings and Fuggles. So yeah, it's really delicious to try in this beer. And a Burton Ale originates from Burton-on-Trent, that you've probably heard of, which is in the heart of England, and was a very, very important region, well, town, in the history of beer in general. So people have been brewing there, well, since time immemorial, but there have been big breweries there since the 1600s. And in the 1700s, it really kicked off, and beers from Burton were sent all over the world to the new colonies in India, and also to trading partners in Russia and just various different places. And the reason beer from Burton-on-Trent was unique is, well, I suppose this is really, it's a story about rocks. So as I mentioned, the soil is full of all these minerals that makes the hops quite unique, that went up to Burton to make these Burton ales. But also in Burton, they have a lot of caves. So it's perfect conditions for cellaring your beer. A Burton ale is not designed to be drunk fresh. It would be brewed and then aged until the brewer deemed it ready, which is the case with this beer. It was canned pretty much just for you jerks. It was a really small batch, and it was brewed initially for the birthday of Pomeroy's. I'm pretty sure Finney told me. Hopefully I haven't got that wrong. And it sat in tank for a while, just sort of just aging, getting a bit more character. So that was definitely until he canned it in January for us jerks to drink. But that was definitely a characteristic of Burton ales, to be aged a little bit until they were ready, and they could be aged in these caves, which when you go underground, you have a set temperature. Temperatures do not fluctuate underground. So before the dawn of refrigeration and ice banks, things like that, you could just dig or use naturally occurring caves, which is what Burton-upon-Trent has. A lot of naturally occurring caves where your beer can just sit down there and be fine. Also, Burton is famous for its water. The well water in Burton is also full of stones. Calcium, sulfites, magnesium, all kinds of different stones. Minerals, I should probably be saying, rather than stones. But when brewers brew beers today, generally they start off with water, which is, it might be a distilled water, but generally breweries use reverse osmosis to strip out all of the minerals out of a beer, and then they add new minerals, whether they're salts or chalks, whatever they might be. So the process of Burtonizing water has been done for a very long time, and that is to make the water like the water that is naturally occurring in the wells in Burton. And that's the same with you might want to replicate the water in Cologne, or you might want to replicate the water of New England. And the water being so hard in Burton is a key characteristic that really lets the hops especially sing, but just really brings out the lovely flavour of the malts and everything else that's going in there. Burton-on-Trent used to have hundreds of breweries in the 17th and 18th century, and they sadly have all sort of amalgamated and got bought out by some of the big breweries. So there's not really a lot going on there these days. I think they might have the UK Brewing Museum in Burton-on-Trent, and there are some breweries certainly there, but it's definitely not like how it would have been if you'd have visited in 1780. Do I have anything else to say? Oh yeah, this beer's called Half Mast because Finney brewed it on the day of Queen Elizabeth II's funeral. So being an English expatriate, he thought it would be nice to give Her Royal Highness the Queen a little nod, and it's just quite a cool can artwork that's, as I say, designed by Finney's wife Laura, flying at half mast. And I think it's a pretty fantastic beer. I think you're going to enjoy it this week, and we've got another one coming up from Emporium next week for you to sink your teeth into. All right, that is about it from me. It is Easter this weekend, so hopefully you've stocked up on some beers. Our bar is going to be closed on Good Friday. We'll be open on Saturday as usual, so come along and join us if you're in Auckland. If you're not going off to your batch this weekend, come and have a beer at the Fridge and Flagon and see Lucy. And thank you so much for joining us. Brilliant work, Finney. You've really nailed it. I've really enjoyed drinking this. I'm glad I've got quite a few cases left in the chiller, so I'll be drinking a lot more of this beer over the coming month or two. And I hope all you jerks out there enjoy it. Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate you being part of the Beer Jerk journey. Cheers.